Charles Hassan Williams, Frederick Douglass Williams, and Jomo Williams. What's up? Welcome to the PCC podcast.
Hey. What's going down?
Thank you guys for joining me today. Everybody, these are just a few of my male family members that are fathers, and they are great dads. They are amazing fathers, and I could not do a month in June without having the men in my family participate in some way. So thank you guys for joining me. So this is really easy. So I just really want y'all to have a conversation about memories, about whatever father figure our actual dad, uncles, that you want to talk about, just for fun, because honestly, some of these shows this month have been pretty heavy. So it will be fun to just have some memories of our dad, our grandfather, whoever you want to talk about. Why don't we start off with Hassan? You did the show last year, so let's start with you, Fred. Fred, what's in your head?
My memories of fathers. I know a lot of our parents, their generation, men in particular, fathers, all had to be like hardcore. They were like mean, like everybody got to be afraid of them, right? But it was just fun as I grew up, how my relationship with my dad changed through the years, because everybody was terrified of daddy, everybody. He raised his boys and knees would be buckling, right? But it was just good through the years as we grew up that our relationship changed and we became more friends. So what I've done is try to learn from my dad and the other men in my family and be a better dad, to be blunt, learn from what they did. And I think I was probably a little too easy on my kids, because I wanted to spoil my kids because we weren't, right? We had it kind of rough, right? We didn't have all the race cars and the trains and
except Jomo.
All that stuff. So I kind of spoiled my kids. Jomo was spoiled. Jomo had everything.
Jomo and Richie, oh my
Jomo
gosh.
told us.
Come on, man. Oh, you remember,
Yes.
friend? You remember that?
Jomo,
And
we were bamboozled, right? Because we thought Jomo could get, yes. We thought Jomo could get anything. And Jomo promised we were all going to get go-karts.
Yes.
Corvettes and Beamers. We were waiting around. Didn't happen.
I remember Fred, Jomo got a moped, and we were still riding around on old junky bikes. Jomo got a moped.
Yeah.
And he's riding around, flying down the street, and we're like, and see, we the way that we grew up, me, Fred, Jomo, Shante, Yambe, Richie, and then Akbar, Ibn, Jacob, John, J-Boy, Rabi, all of them, all of our cousins, we all grew up in like a very strong clique. And it was Daddy, Uncle King, Uncle Jacob, all of them, they were different types of fathers. Daddy wasn't in our life the entire time. We left him. I was 12, Fred was 10, Cindy was 12, right?
14.
14.
Mm-hmm.
14.
So we weren't with him the entire time. And then the other cousins, their fathers were kind of in and out of their lives too, but they were in our life enough to make a strong impact. They were in our lives enough to bring all of our cousins and our group together and made us a strong group. Poor Cindy. Cindy was the only girl. Girl among boys.
Yeah, and I hated it because I wanted to be a part of the crew so bad, but they wouldn't let me. No, you're a girl. Go read a book. Go play with your dollies. And I was like, I was so bored.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
audience, and then I'll let Jomo speak.
One thing I
Go for it.
One thing I can say about our fathers and our parents in general, I think we all have complaints about our parents, but I can say this, that in particular the men, I'm really proud that every man that has a child in our generation takes care of their kids and are good fathers and are present every day in their kids' lives. So whatever they did to get us to that point, they deserve credit for that.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it would be an omission and a lie that it wasn't just the men. The women, the women are the ones that were the glue between us all. Aunt Sadaka and Ali, Grandma, our sister Cindy, our sisters, they were the glue that kept us tight. There's so many times when Aunt Sadaka, we had no place, we didn't have any safe place to go to be ourselves. And Aunt Sadaka would just take 12 different knuckleheads, and we would just be over her house, tearing up her house, eating everything, and she would just take care of us. At the end of the night, she didn't tell us to go home. She just said, sleep on the ground.
Definitely. Yeah, and then also on our side, our fathers really made sure that we were together. And I really know my dad, he was there in his own way. I was able to go and see him and be with him. And believe it or not, I learned a lot from my dad. I learned a lot about, dedication. He dedicated to his music, his craft, what he does. He loves people. I didn't understand a lot of that at the time, but looking back on it and seeing what he's done and how he helped me, realize a lot of stuff about myself, made me a better father, and also reflecting on, his dedication to his, what he did and what he does in the church and everything else, helps me as a religious man, and teach my kids, how to be dedicated, as such, so I learned a lot from him. And my dad and my grandfather, both my grandfathers. I had two granddads. As you guys know, I had Partner and of course Reverend J.C. Williams. I mean, we can go all day on what we learned from him. I mean, I know we can talk, from being in the church and from how he worked with his congregation and what he preached about and from everything. And the one thing about our grandfather, he loved his grandchildren, loved us, right? So that's what made us kind of who we are, today, was his leadership. So, I mean, we learned a lot from all of them. My Uncle Jacob, my Uncle
Amir.
Uncle Amir.
Yep.
We had some great role models to look up to,
So with all that in mind, okay, so you Hassan, you have a son and your daughters, and Fred, you've got your sons and you, so you all have your children now. What do you hope, especially the young men that you raised, that you were dads to, how do you hope that they evolve from you? What do you hope that they learn from you?
Well, what's interesting is that my son, I have a son who's 32 and I have a daughter who's 21 and daughter's 19. The thing that I would take from Daddy, my son was born when I was not married. I had a relationship with a young lady, Kim Morgan, and I was not there a lot for my son when he was younger. But there was a point where I recall saying to myself, that if my dad was as good of a dad to me, how can I not be that to my son? So, and my dad would always tell me what he learned from J.C. Williams, our grandfather, is that so long as you spend time with the child and you're consistent with that child and you love that child, then that child will respect you and love you. And so that's the principles that I took, is to spend time, to love him as much as I could. And so I started being around him as much as I could. And still today, there are issues because I was not there for him the entire time. It's issues that I do, that he and I deal with today. But what I learned from Daddy, what I learned from Papa, is the only thing that I can stand by, is to try to love him as much as I can, to do the best that I can, and just stay up with my effort. And so that's kind of what I learned. And
that's a great perspective. Mm-hmm. Fred, what about you?
Yeah, I just hope they learn from me. You know what I learned from Daddy and Papa and all the other men, and and do better. I want him to one up me on every level, right? Brandon and Junior. I want them to one up me and be better than I was. Like I mentioned earlier, I think I was way too lenient on my kids, and I think it kind of hurt them in some ways, right? They didn't have the kind of what's the word? The fire like we had. We had the fire because we ain't had anything, right? So I spoiled them. I think I spoiled my kids a little too much, but I hope he just takes what he learns from me and other men and just does better than what we are. But like I said, I mean, I'm just so proud that across the board, all of us, not just the men, but the women, have been very active and present parents in our kids. So what all that stereotype about Black men not being fathers, just come and take a video camera and go through everybody in our family. Every man across the board is a father to their children.
And Fred, they say that about, they use that, the institution of America uses that against Black men, and they did during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And Black men heard it, and Black men, they say, now what they say is that there's no Black leaders in America. The only Black leaders they have is basketball players, and there's no other leaders. J. Cole talks about it in his music, but there are leaders. There are leaders, and they are the leaders are in the homes.
Yes.
And the leaders are taking care of their families. And so that trend that they talked about, they're not able to talk about it that much anymore because that trend is changing.
Mm-hmm.
No, big time.
Yeah, and with important thing that I want to leave with my kids, and I want my kids to learn is to put their trust, in a higher being, right? Understand that things will happen. You're gonna go through life. There will be mistakes, that you will make, but learn from those mistakes and move on and grow on. That's the same thing that I had to do. Some people have to learn the hard way. Some people learn the easy way. I just want to teach them how to keep moving, keep growing, never give up. And, but I'm hoping that I'm showing them that as I live my life, because I keep moving. I make my mistakes. I fall down, and I'll be sure to tell my kids and talk to them about the things, my day, communicate with them a lot better so they can understand how to handle certain situations as I go through my life. So that's one of the small little legacies I want to leave with my child and with my kids, is to keep moving, keep growing, never give up, be confident in what you do, and, and just be here for them. Like Fred was saying, Dad, my father wasn't there all the time, but whenever I did want to talk to him, he was there. But I want to be there all the time for my children. Anytime they have a question, anytime they have an issue, I want to be there for them to answer the questions for them the best of I possibly can, and being honest with my kids. So
I think you guys, I am very proud of the men in your generation and the men that are coming up and the women. I'm very proud of them. I was just talking to Sadaka, our sister Sadaka, who today about, we were like, the guys are great. What happened to us? You know what I'm saying? Because we're struggling. The girls, we've made some really interesting choices, and we are definitely struggling. And we're like, trying to process what the difference was. And the only thing that we could come up with was, like you said, I was by myself and they came late. Y'all had each other. So you definitely had strong role models in the men, but you also had each other, and you were accountable to each other, and you taught each other, and then you married really smart wives and women had in your life to help you evolve that much more as a man. So I'm very proud of all my cousins and my brothers, and when I hear people say stuff like black men this, black men that, I was like, y'all just don't know the right ones,
But can I say one thing?
yeah, good.
Let me say one thing to you, Cindy, and I'll leave it like that. I'll leave it like this. We have wonderful women in our family. You, like I said, you guys are the glue. The fact that you are visiting Rabib right now says everything. The fact that you're visiting him right now is the glue. It just is. I remember months ago we were talking about we were talking about rap music, right? We were talking about rap music and your perspective on it, because we were all saying that this new rap music is really, some people are saying that they don't say anything, they don't do anything. We were talking about how some of the people, they carry themselves, and your point was this, and it made me think about it. You said that everyone and everything evolves. It's in its current state right now because that's where it needs to be. But it is growing to be what it's supposed to be. So we're all individually, personally, masculine, feminine, we're all in different stages, none higher than the other. It's just we're all evolving to what we're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And so I think that we would not be who we are without the women and the glue in our family. We just would not be. I don't know where I would be without you. And so I think that's important to keep a perspective of it, is that we're all one. We're all one. Both the men and the women. We can't do anything with them.
I mean, without Analyst and then the lead, Cindy Cut, and B, your mom, and B, oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And she would hold me, right? And she would hold me, and every time Papa would kiss us, right? We knew Papa would kiss us. And
oh my God.
and every time. And I felt so good, right? And she kissed Shantae. She would kiss everybody. Yambe, I mean, it meant so much. You don't know how much that impacted me. And that's how I wanted my wife to be. That's how I wanted my kids to be. I want to, it's all comes together, So everybody had a very important role.
How many miscreants did Mommy shelter in her house? Think about how many people. Look, Mommy's house and Sonica's house, everybody was at our house. all the time.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I think the key is that what's so important for people to understand is we do need each other. Last month when I had all mothers on, it always ended up talking about the strength of the men in their lives, and it's vice versa. And I think that's what the world is going through. This evolution, this change, this growth, this shift back to balance, instead of it being masculine dominated. I won't say male dominated. I'm gonna say masculine. It's an energy, not a gender. It's harmonizing, because the way I watch you guys treat your children, it is nurturing. It used to be men did not nurture their children because they weren't expected to, or even maybe allowed to. But we have evolved as a people to understand that men should and are nurturing their children as much as the women are. It's a combined effort that we all need to do. And I'm gonna tell you, you guys, I am so, literally, if I could sit here and talk about everybody's children and what they're doing, you would be like, wow, what a blessed family. And we are a blessed family, but there are others out there too. So have hope, find a way to harmonize, find a way to come together, because men are so important, and so are women. And so it's not one above the other.
Right.
And I think you guys are great examples of that, because you have wonderful partnerships where you harmonize with your wives, you have balance, and your children see that, and they're going to evolve from us. And that's the key, that they're better. That if you don't want your kids better than you, then you don't want the best for them.
Right.
I this guy tried to use my, Sophia against me. He kept comparing us all the time. And I didn't say anything. And finally I was just like, are you trying to hurt my feelings by saying my daughter's cuter than me and a better actress than me and a better this than me? That doesn't hurt me. That makes me feel like I've done my job. So thank you for the compliment.
That's right.
And if it's not a compliment, keep it to yourself, because all you're doing is making me know I know, my girl is good. And on that note, I'm going to wrap this up, guys. I know you guys are so busy, but I really am proud of you and wanted you to be on this platform so I could share you with my folks that listen in. Thank you so much, and happy Father's Day. Really happy Father's Day to you. Keep doing what you're doing. Hassan got that grandchild now. And so we're all blessed. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.